Today's episode is brought to you by Teach Hanley. Since the beginning of civilization, dolls have been beloved by children, cherished by collectors, and used in religious rites as conduits for both good and evil. Well, that's what the Conjuring Movie Universe would have you believe anyway. And sure, why not? The Assyrians once believed that a person could be harmed by manipulating effigies in archaic rituals, whilst the Egyptians held to the notion that a person could be cursed by writing magic symbols upon sculptures made of wax, mud, and limestone. So it's not totally out of left field that The Conjuring's Annabelle, a creepy, godforsaken porcelain nightmare if I ever saw one, was conceived. Why this would be a child's toy is beyond me. In fact, one thing that struck me about the Conjuring Movie Universe is that no one actually recognizes that Annabelle is a synthetic monstrosity.
She fits right in.
First of all, Samuel Mullins, who created the doll in the 1940s, is probably the worst toy maker who ever lived. We're led to believe that this guy is a pretty renowned toy maker, but instead of creating a doll that embodies innocence, purity, and a certain adorableness, he decides to make... Then there's John in the first Annabelle movie, who decides to surprise his pregnant wife Mia with the ultimate romantic gesture. And much to our horror, Mia's actually really happy about receiving it.
I'd completely lost hope.
Huh, you still might. Then there's Debbie and Camilla, the two nurses who, if I remember correctly, end up in possession of the doll because Debbie's mother thinks that this plastic poltergeist is exactly what her daughter needs in her life. Besides being creepy looking, Annabelle basically terrorizes anyone who is in possession of her, and condemns those who are in her vicinity with violent paranormal activity. She sets John and Mia's house on fire, gives a priest the insta-gib melee, paralyzes this young girl, kills her own creator, ruins movie night, and... yeah, damages those books. So it's a good thing that this is all just a movie, right? And that there isn't really a horrible, homicidal and haunted doll out there destroying people's lives. So job done, I guess. Easiest video ever. As always guys, if you've enjoyed today's episode, then don't forget to give this video a... Oh, son of a... The Conjuring's Annabelle is indeed based off a real-life doll, believed to have been responsible for hauntings, mischief, and exhibiting malicious behaviour. But as you can see, she wasn't as creepy as the Conjuring movies make her look, but instead was a seemingly innocent enough Raggedy Ann doll. I mean, I still wouldn't have it in my house, but I think we can agree it looks like the lesser of two evils. The actual origin of the doll, as in its manufacturing and place of original distribution, remains to be a mystery. But what we do know was that it was said to have been bought at a second-hand store by a woman to give as a gift to her daughter. Indeed, the original influence for Debbie that the Conjuring movie's nurse is based off of. Donna, who was a student nurse, was a grown woman when she received the doll. Which, isn't that weird, I guess, but still kind of unusual. Donna, who lived with her friend Angie, who's also portrayed in the movies as Camilla, was thrilled with the doll, and as you might imagine, she didn't think that the doll was capable of any kind of insidiousness. But that would soon change. Why did she have to buy this creepy doll? Why couldn't she just buy something nice, like, I don't know, Teach Hanley? If you're looking for a skincare routine that's simple to use, easy on the wallet, and works like a charm, then Teach Hanley's skincare program is probably the way to go. I've been using Teach Hanley's Level 1 system, which comes with a face wash to get rid of dirt and grime, an exfoliating scrub to get rid of dead skin cells, a daytime moisturizer with SPF 20 to protect your skin from the sun, and an evening moisturizer to keep your skin hydrated throughout the night. Skincare has never been so simple, and Teach Hanley walks you through the process with an instructional card that tells you exactly how to apply each of their products, when to use them, and how much you should be using. The process of achieving healthy skin has never been easier. If you're looking for a fresher feeling and some confidence to kickstart your day, Teach Hanley's morning and evening routines will get you on your way. With over 5,000 5-star reviews on their website from satisfied customers around the world, you can trust that Teach Hanley's skincare system works. In addition to amazing skin, Teach Hanley members can get tons of benefits, including 20% off retail prices, the ability to customize your order box, exclusive monthly deals, and free US shipping. For skincare you can trust, go to teej.com/TLOHNOV or use my exclusive link in the description box below to receive 30% off your first box and a free gift. And now back to today's episode. It started off slow, with the doll making small movements, the twitch of an arm or the swaying of a leg. Things that could have been chalked up to the old eyes playing tricks on Donna and Angie. But soon the doll would move from space to space, sometimes found on the floor when she'd been placed in a chair, or sometimes found on the bed instead of by the desk. Again, things that could simply be explained by one person moving the doll without telling the other. But it began to happen so frequently that the two flatmates became certain that the doll was moving by itself, sauntering from place to place in an eerily arbitrary fashion. Soon, the doll was said to have been found with its arms crossed, or even kneeling on the floor, expressions that should have been physically impossible for the doll to have achieved on its own. Alarming as it was, Donna and Angie were not so eager to be rid of the doll, even after they were sure that it was wandering about. But a third friend named Lou, sometimes said to be Angie's boyfriend, was much less tolerant of the roguish toy. He was vocal about his disdain for the doll, and after probably seeing it move himself, or just sensing the bad vibes oozing from it, he suggested it was evil and that the doll ought to be burned, or at least thrown in the bin. But Donna and Angie were insistent on keeping the doll for some bizarre reason, and it seems that if it came down to thrown in with the doll, or thrown in with Lou, Lou was going to be vastly disappointed. The ragdoll only grew more sinister though. It wasn't long before Angie and Donna began to find notes around their apartment, notes that were written on parchment paper with the words "help us" or "help Lou." The meaning behind the messages are unclear, but what makes this even more weird is that they were written on parchment paper, the sort of paper that neither Donna or Angie even had in their apartment. Still, this wasn't enough for the flatmates to toss the doll out the window, and so the creepy cotton nightmare remained to haunt another day. It wasn't until Donna found what she believed to be blood on the doll did she begin to realise the gravity of the situation. Supposedly, what looked like drops of dried blood, or ketchup, was found on the back of the doll's hand, as well as 3 drops of blood smeared on its chest. It was at this moment where Donna began to consider that there was some semblance of evil lurking within the doll, though there exists another more graphic account that was believed to have taken place at this time too. Lou, who had already expressed his reservations about the doll, was believed to have taken a nap in one of the rooms. His nap was interrupted by the doll, however, when he woke up to find it standing at the edge of his bed. Whilst it may have simply been a classic case of sleep paralysis, Lou claimed he couldn't move, and that with each panicked moment, the doll drew nearer towards him. It slowly glided up his leg and clawed its way onto his chest, before proceeding to strangle him until he blacked out. When Lou gained consciousness, he was certain he had not been dreaming, and was even more certain that the doll had something to do with it. This wouldn't be the last encounter that Lou would have with this menacing plaything. Donna and Angie could no longer deny that something was amiss, so they invited a psychic medium to their apartment to assess the doll and to get to the bottom of the weird goings-on. So they held a seance, and the medium discerned that the doll was actually possessed by the spirit of a deceased 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins, whose body had been found in the same space as the apartment some many decades before. The medium's conclusion was simple. The doll, Annabelle, just wanted to be loved and cared for. For some reason, the murder attempt on Lou was cast aside, and the spirit of the doll, this 7-year-old Annabelle Higgins, was considered benign. So, Donna and Angie decided to keep her. The Conjuring movie portrays both women as good souls, and that because they are nurses, they were more inclined to help or care for Annabelle than mercilessly casting her out into the trash. Whether this was the case in the supposed real-life account is not certain, but in any case, Lou was overruled, and the doll remained within the premises. But Annabelle proved to be anything but benign. The hauntings continued, and in another more gruesome account, Lou heard rustling sounds in Donna's room. After inspecting the room, he found the doll laying face down on the floor. When he approached the doll, Lou claims that he felt another presence in the room, before doubling over and clutching at his chest. In that moment, he had been scratched, and 4 bloody claw marks were burned into his flesh. 2 days later, the wounds vanished. How do we know all of this? Well, because after Lou's second brush with death, Angie and Donna were now convinced that Annabelle was malignant. The psychic medium hadn't been much help, so they decided to reach out to a party with a bit more authority on the subject of paranormal activity: Ed and Lorraine Warren. So yes, the paranormal investigators in the Conjuring movies, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, were actually based on real-life paranormal investigators. Ed Warren, a self-taught demonologist and lecturer, and Lorraine Warren, a professed medium and clairvoyant, claimed to have actually investigated thousands of hauntings during their career under the New England Society for Psychic Research, which they founded in 1952. In many of their books, they detail their paranormal investigations and provide insights into many of their cases, including the more infamous Annabelle. Of course, there wasn't a hotline to reach the paranormal super team of Ed and Lorraine. Donna and Angie first contacted a priest named Father Hegan, who then contacted his superior, Father Cook, who then got in touch with Ed and Lorraine and got them up to speed on Annabelle. As told to us in the book Demonologist, where Ed and Lorraine discuss Annabelle, Father Cook blessed the apartment of Donna and Angie before performing an exorcism on the doll. An exorcism, I hear you say. But isn't this doll meant to be inhabited by a 7-year-old girl? Well, no. Turns out the original psychic medium was wrong. Ed Warren is quoted in The Demonologist that the spirit infesting the doll was not a human spirit. For according to biblical belief, God does not allow human spirits to inhabit inanimate objects. Instead, the thing attached to the doll was actually a demon, and that this demon in particular was after Donna's soul. Ed Warren is quoted as saying, "Spirits do not possess inanimate objects, like houses or toys. They possess people. And an human spirit can attach itself to a place or object, and this is what occurred in the Annabelle case. This spirit manipulated the doll and created the illusion of it being alive in order to get recognition. Truly, the spirit was not looking to stay attached to the doll. It was looking to possess a human host." With the doll exorcised, the Warrens took the doll away with them for safekeeping. Despite the idea of the doll being inhabited by the 7-year-old Annabelle Higgins, now thoroughly debunked by the Warrens, the name seemed to have stuck, and from then on, the doll was always referred to as Annabelle. The nightmare was over for Donna, Angie and Lou, but for the Warrens, it was the start of some very strange happenings. As told to us in The Demonologist, the Warrens drove home with Annabelle in their car, but were plagued with car problems. Interestingly, Ed Warren details that he purposely avoided travelling along the highway with the doll in the car for fear it would endanger his life and the lives of others. It's just as well too, because it's been suggested that the brakes of the car failed multiple times, the engine kept stalling, and such mechanical problems did not cease until holy water was sprinkled on the demonic doll. Upon arriving home, the doll was situated in Ed's study, where there were some ambiguous reports of the doll levitating and teleporting about the house. Despite being stored behind a locked door, the Warrens claimed the doll was still up to no good, and its malignant power could still be felt. In one incident told to us by the Warrens, a priest came to visit the doll, but he was not convinced of its terrible power. He was said to lift the doll up and fling it across the room, taunting the doll for its supposed power, and deeming it as nothing more than a child's toy. When leaving the Warrens' home, the priest was involved in a near-fatal car crash that saw his brakes fail and his vehicle flip over. Luckily for him, he survived the crash, but others would not be so lucky. Eventually, the Warrens would lock up Annabelle for good inside a specially made wooden case, upon which the Lord's Prayer is inscribed into its surface. Prayers were said over the case routinely during Ed and Lorraine's lifetime, and a priest was called to bless the box every 2 weeks. The combination of these holy elements appears to have stumped Annabelle, who has not since been reported as ever having left the box, so it seems that the doll and the demonic spirit inhabiting it have truly been contained. But that's not to say it has completely lost its potency. With the doll safely secured inside its wooden box, the Warrens opened the now closed occult museum in Monroe, Connecticut, where Annabelle was displayed to the general public. An ominous warning sign reading "Do Not Touch" was even placed on the case, cautioning visitors about the supposed danger that the doll could cause. Unfortunately, not all visitors could be deterred. A visitor who, like the priest, did not take Annabelle seriously, rapped on the glass of the doll case and proceeded to mock and taunt the doll, daring her to do her worse. On his way home, he and his girlfriend were involved in a motorcycle accident where he was killed instantly. His girlfriend narrowly escaped with her life. It is with all these accounts that the Warrens determined was proof that the Annabelle doll possessed some horrific powers, capable of not just haunting, but also killing someone. Therefore, the question must be asked, how many of these stories can be verified? In a word, none. The name of the priest who taunted the doll has never been disclosed to us, nor have the names of the motorcyclist or his girlfriend. And furthermore, neither Donna or Angie or even Lou have never come forward about their experience with the doll, leading many skeptics to believe that Ed and Lorraine Warren might have made the whole thing up. Skeptics have since also dismissed the occult museum of Ed and Lorraine Warren as Halloween junk, which includes Annabelle, and that any power found there is simply the power of imagination and creative storytelling. But if that really was the case, then why would the Warrens have continued to investigate thousands of paranormal cases, as well as risk their own lives in the search of truth, and even open up the museum to... right. Still, when it comes to Annabelle, I believe Tony Spira, the son-in-law of the Warrens, said it best, when he compares the doll to a game of Russian roulette. Sure, there's only one bullet in the gun, but would you really risk it? We've spoken a bit about the demonic spirit that possessed the doll of the hour, but as far as the real-life account goes, no demon has come forth and taken responsibility, believe it or not. Neither Ed or Lorraine Warren appear to associate the demon to any kind of known demon from demonology, whether this be the literary works of the Ars Goetia or the classifications by John Weyer, Colin de Plancy, or even Heinrich Kramer. For a demonologist, Ed Warren was quite content to simply allow the supposed demonic spirit to fall into the puddle of obscurity, and opted not to try and associate it with a specific entity. The Conjuring universe, on the other hand, does attempt to explain this demonic spirit in a blinking you'll miss it moment in the first installment of the Annabelle movie. You remember Mia, right? The mother in the first movie who gets haunted by the spirit whilst her husband works a lot of overtime. Well, midway through the movie, we see her pass by a bookshop, where her attention is caught by the book in the shop window titled The Devil's Welcome. For what it's worth, such a book doesn't actually exist, but there are several books like this that intend to detail the nature of demons, as well as their characteristics. After getting sick and tired of the hauntings, Mia goes to the bookstore and is helped by Evelyn, the bookstore owner, who seems to know a fair thing or two about being haunted. She gives Mia the devil's welcome and directs her attention to a specific set of pages that actually gives us a fair bit of information that the film ultimately fails in doing. In the book, we can see that the text refers to a document known as the Curses of Belial, or Belial, and that it can be found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, the Dead Sea Scrolls do exist, and they are ancient Jewish manuscripts that were relatively recently unearthed in the Qumran caves on the northern shore of the Dead Sea. These manuscripts that date back to the 3rd century before the Common Era include some of the oldest surviving manuscripts of entire biblical books, as well as providing us with new perspectives. The Curses of Belial, meanwhile, is likely a bit of Hollywood creative liberalism, for such a text is not prominent amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls. Belial, however, a demon, and sometimes a fallen angel in Apocrypha, does make several appearances. In the War Scroll, discovered amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls, Belial is described as a leader of the Sons of Darkness, and his purpose, as created by God, is to bring about wickedness. Furthermore, Belial is attributed as being the leader of the fallen angels, perhaps more specifically, angels who cause destruction. In yet another discovery inside the Dead Sea Scrolls is the Community Rule, where God is seen to express his disdain for Belial, declaring that he controls scores of demons for the purpose of evil. Ultimately, in these texts, Belial can be synonymous with the devil himself, perhaps the big bad boss of the Conjuring universe. As Mia continues to read the book, we learn that Belial preys on the weak, but also that the weak were influenced by sin by talking to him in the first place, him and all his guilty lot. The guilty lot could be in reference to the other demons that appear in the Conjuring universe, and you could make an argument here that Belial is the one who has inhabited Annabelle, especially considering that in this scene, the demon attacks Mia's baby, one that cannot defend itself and thus could be categorized as weak. Another idea requires us to dip into the Lesser Key of Solomon, an anonymous entry into the literary world of demonology that is divided into 5 sections. It is the first section that interests us the most when discussing the potential demons that might inhabit the Annabelle doll in the Conjuring universe. Despite being influenced by other classifications, such as Colin de Plancy's Dictionary Infernal, which portrays 65 demons, and John Weah's Pseudomonarchia Daemonum, which portrays 69 demons, Ars Goetia of the Lesser Key of Solomon goes a step further in presenting 72 demons, as well as providing detailed descriptions of these entities and their powers. When Mia reads The Devil's Welcome, she comes across an illustration of the demon Beleth, a ram-headed entity that looks similar to the demonic spirit that haunts her and others in the subsequent Annabelle movies. Both appear to possess curved horns similar to that of a goat. Both appear to be dark coloured, and both appear to be humanoid in form. The accompanying text reads, Beleth, mighty king of hell, commands the 85 demonic legions. Considering that Beleth is actually depicted in this sequence, and bears resemblance to the demonic spirit that haunts the characters of the Annabelle movies, it's reasonable to believe that this is the demon lurking inside of the doll. Now, Beleth is indeed a real demon found in Ars Goetia, the 13th demon to be precise. However, he's not exactly the menacing, typical ram-headed demon that the movie depicts him as. He's actually a cat playing a trumpet. The text tells us that Beleth is a mighty king, and he is terrible. He rides a pale horse while playing trumpets and other musical instruments. He is angry when he is summoned, and won't obey the summoner or the exorcist unless specific instructions are followed. Those which include brandishing a hazel wand and drawing shapes into the air. Only by demonstrating the correct ritual will Beleth become obedient, but even then he has to be treated with respect and honour. A silver ring should also be worn by the exorcist. Beleth is also attributed with being able to cause men and women to fall in love, and there is some implication in the text here that the summoner can have his romantic desires fulfilled, so long as the demon remains in his presence. Much like the Conjuring's Beleth, Ars Goetia's Beleth also commands 85 legions of demons. But there's another demon that comes under suspicion for being the evil villain behind Annabelle, and that is the 38th demon in the Ars Goetia, Malthus, sometimes pronounced Halphus. As Mia turns the pages, she comes across the chapter Disciples of the Ram, where once again we see a ram-headed entity pouncing upon a helpless baby. To the casual viewer, this may as well be Beleth, given the similarities in appearance, but at the bottom of the page we are clearly told that this is Malthus, an Earl of Hell. As he's depicted here as a ram, it's reasonable to believe that the Disciples of the Ram are his followers. The text accompanying the image here basically explains that in order for him to possess a person's soul, the person in question must be willing to surrender it. This secures the covenant between man and demon, and as you might imagine, it is an everlasting pact that cannot be undone, not even by the church. This might be why he is depicted as hovering above a baby, for as we see in Mia's case, he haunts her baby daughter until Mia is pressured enough to offer up her own soul to save her. But with Beleth looking like a cat playing a trumpet in Ars Goetia, how does Malthus fare in the same book? Well, not much better. Malthus, the 38th demon, is presented as a rather innocent looking dove. He is indeed noted as a great earl who speaks with a hoarse voice. His duty is to build towers and to furnish them with ammunition and weapons, and to send men of war to places appointed. Interestingly, his description here of inciting war or conflict might be shown through the Conjuring's Malthus, inciting the two murderers, one of whom is one of Malthus's earliest victims in Janice from Annabelle Creation, into killing the neighbours of John and Mia. Perhaps there is some imagery that can be derived from Malthus's seemingly innocent dove appearance. You might say that he chooses the dove because that way his less threatening form is perfect in catching his human prey off guard. After all, no one suspects a dove, do they? This might be the same thinking of Malthus in the Conjuring movies, who adopts the form of a doll. And yes, whilst he probably could have picked a sweeter looking doll, his deception is successful as he fools both Mia and the two nurses. Whilst we can never really know if an actual demonic spirit possesses the real Annabelle doll, we can safely assume that the Conjuring's Annabelle is likely possessed by an amalgamation of several demons from Ars Goetia and various literary influences. It will be interesting to see if the films do continue with Annabelle's story, and progress beyond the years of Ed and Lorraine to bring us new scenarios, perhaps the escape of Malthus, as he wrestles the doll free of its confines and reintegrates once more into the modern world. It may also be interesting to see if we get any new demons, akin to the likes of Valek or Bathsheba, for as we see from Ars Goetia, there's certainly a lot of inspiration to draw from. After all, we need only look at the fictional Devil's Welcome and its reference to the wicked demon Belial that Malthus and Annabelle might very well be the tip of the iceberg for the Conjuring franchise. Don't forget to check out Teach Hanley's skincare products with my exclusive link in the description, where you can get 30% off your first order and a free gift. Let me know in the comments below if you'd take your chances taunting Annabelle, or whether you'd play it safe and leave it well the hell alone. As always, if you've enjoyed today's episode, then don't forget to give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more content just like this. Until next time.